Hello, I'm Luke from Brownlow Utilities and welcome to today's Energy Market Snapshot. Okay, so towards the back end of last week, during Friday's afternoon session, we saw a really substantial drop in gas prices, particularly in the short term. And this also filtered through to oil markets. And again, the whole basis of that was Donald Trump's tweet that the Strait of Iran, as he put it, was now open off the back of recent peace talks. And we saw very, very bearish, very quickly bearish movements materialising during that session. Now, what hasn't materialised is a genuine reopening of the Strait of Hormuz in its entirety. There remains a blockade on Iranian ships from the US, and I believe the US actually commandeered one of the Iranian tankers. So it's a far from ideal situation. However, the ceasefire as things stand remains between both the US and Iran, and indeed extended to include Lebanon and Israel within that. So geopolitically, it's still going to be quite rocky road for this week. However, we are starting to see that hopefully settle somewhat. I mean, I've indeed seen the price remain, broadly speaking, where it achieved on Friday's close, particularly for those shorter term gas periods. Further along the curve, there's less effect for those. The main source of risk remains in the short term, all due to this geopolitical stuff, and indeed the fact that European storage levels remain very poor in comparison to previous years. So you've got probably for the remainder of this year quite a lot of gas that needs to be bought between now and October, more so than I believe, looking at the data that we can gather, pretty much as far back as we've got, 15 years. It's probably one of the worst storage situations that we've had at the moment. And that would mean that that gas has to be bought between now and the 1st of October at what are probably elevated levels without much benefit of doing so. So it means that you're going to have quite a volatile winter, unfortunately, despite some of the warmer temperatures that we're now starting to see filter through. And some of the windy conditions that have eased the short-term curve. We're not really seeing much downward benefit from that in the short term because of this poor storage situation. Elsewhere, and probably the biggest piece of news that we've started to see so far during today's session that hasn't actually influenced prices but is nonetheless very influential from an energy market point of view, is the bid to remove the marginal pricing system from the way we price electricity. And that is to say, the talk in government to remove gas linkage between gas pricing and electricity pricing. That is going to be debated at some point soon during Parliament, and the expectation is that we'll have it will bear more fruit in the next sort of 12 months. In around April 2026 is when I believe there's going to be targets for that. But at the moment, the view of that really is that the current marginal pricing scheme is biased towards gas, in that it is essentially saying that electricity is priced in the most expensive source of generation, and the move from the government is to actually look at doing that from what the actual cost is, from what is actually generated. So it will mean a slightly different mechanism to pricing, if not an immediate impact on the pricing as we currently see it. But watch this space on that one. Quite an interesting development, I'm sure. So thanks for joining us this week. Hope you found that interesting, and please feel free to join us on the series of webinars that we're looking to release on both YouTube and LinkedIn, where we're going to be discussing markets on an ongoing basis. And in addition to that, if you have got any questions at all, you want to find out a bit more about our business, the way we operate, please head to our website, www.brownlowutilities.co.uk, and you get in touch with us via the website. There's a contact us section on that, where if you have any questions, whether they're energy market related, sustainability focused, whatever it is, please feel free to get in touch with us, and we'd be more than happy to discuss our services with you and help you out. Thanks for joining us. See you soon.